Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where we talk about manga, books, and sometimes anime. As for today's video, as you already know, I have a current obsession, and that is Danmei. Before I talk about all the Danmei that I've read so far this year, I just want to talk a little bit about how I got into Danmei. So let's go all the way back to the month of June, where I had this TBR I wanted to follow. And I'm a mood reader, so I don't always stick to the TBRs that I make for myself. But I was going through a reading slump, and I saw on my TBR that I had the first Danmei that I read. That Danmei was Guardian by Priest. Oops, it's going to fall. So that's the front cover. This is the back, and here's a little bit about the story. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to simplify the plot and everything about this book. Yes, so let's talk a little bit about what Guardian is about. So we follow Xiao Zhulan and what's the other guy's name? Wei Xiao. So Xiao Zhulan is a police officer who is in charge of the supernatural department of the investigation. So like he's in charge of crimes that are being done by ghosts, demons, or stuff like that. So like mysteries revolving supernatural beings. And then we have what was the other guy's name? Shen Wei. Shen Wei is a professor at this university, which is Dragon University. So Xiao Zhulan is the police, and Shen Wei is the professor. So Shen Wei and Xiao Zhulan. So they meet because Xiao Zhulan is investigating a mysterious disappearance involving a ghost. So he has to go to this university because the person that has been missing is a student at this university, and that's how they meet. That's how our professor and police officer meets. And I'm going to say that for Xiao Zhulan, it was lust at first sight. He sees the professor, and so he falls for it. Well, he feels some sort of attraction towards Shen Wei, and here we have some of the illustrations. But our professor is very skittish and very shy, so he's always pushing Xiao Zhulan away from him. Throughout this first volume, we resolved two mysteries that involved two different people and two different creatures. The thing about Priest is that it does have a lot of Chinese folklore. So one thing that I like about the folklore, and one of the reasons why I actually had not a lot of trouble understanding everything that was happening, is because the translators added footnotes at the very bottom explaining the meanings and like what they were talking about and how it related to the story. And so that's one of the reasons why I really like this story. Not only that, but this one, it has supernatural elements as well as fantasy elements, and obviously there's that romantic relationship that we are going to be getting between Xiao Zhulan and Shen Wei. And yes, I really like this story, and overall I feel like this first volume was very easy to get through. Again, I felt intimidated because I knew it had a lot of Chinese folklore, but those little footnotes helped a lot to get through it, made the reading a lot easier to understand and comprehend and make the story come together a lot easier for you as a reader. And yes, so overall I gave this first volume of Guardian a 5 stars. I really did had a great time, and it did brought me out of my reading slump. So I cannot wait to read the second volume, and the third one just came out this month, so I'm going to be reading those very soon. But that's it for Guardian, and let's go get the second Danmei that I read. So after reading Guardian, I wanted to read another Danmei. I wanted to continue this good reading strike that I was having, and so instead of going to my bookshelf and getting something that I already owned, I decided to go buy this Danmei. And why? That is because this Danmei is a representation of would you love me if I was a worm? But it took it to another level, and it turned out to be would you love me if I was a fish? And the Danmei I'm talking about is The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish, Volume 1. This is the front cover. So let me read a little bit of the back of this story, and that is, here's the perfect catch. When Li Ju falls asleep reading a web novel about a ruleless, mute tyrant falling in love with a dainty male concubine, he doesn't expect to wake up inside the world of the novel, especially not as a fish. And that was enough to get me hooked. I thought this story was really funny. It's so funny, and there's moments in the story where depending on how the author writes it, sometimes there's this scene that's supposed to be funny, but it actually turns out to be secondhand embarrassment. That doesn't happen with this. Moments that are so funny and are meant to give you secondhand embarrassment, you don't even feel it because you're just having such a great time that you're just laughing out loud. And I absolutely adore this story. So yes, we follow Li Ju who falls asleep, and it is isekai into the world of this story he was reading. And so when he wakes up, he learns that he is a fish who is about to be cooked into fish soup. And so his first mission is to survive and get out of being turned into fish soup. And so he's just flopping around the table trying to get away from the person who's trying to cook him, essentially. But he ends up in the floor, and that's when a cat comes in and catches him. And now he's not going to be turned into fish soup, but he's going to be cat food. And the cat catches him, and the cat is running away, and that is until the cat crashes into the leg of the prince, which is June Prince, who is the tyrant, who is the tyrant of the original story Li Ju was reading. And so he stops the cat, and when he does that, he notices that there's a fish just flopping around the floor. And so because June now has taken Li Ju into his custody and has turned him into his pet fish, Li Ju's mission throughout the story is going to be to help change June's original destiny, which is to become a tyrant. And so we see Li Ju doing all of these super silly actions in his fish form, because obviously he cannot turn into a human until he completes a certain amount of missions or a certain mission. And yes, it's so funny to see Li Ju struggle to interact with Prince June as a fish, because he needs to get affection points so that the tyrant shows him love and trust him as a fish. There is a plot where the concubine of the king doesn't really like June, and because June is disabled, he is mute, he cannot speak, he is not allowed to be the next king because of this disability. So the concubine is always trying to make June look bad in front of the king so that her son's spot as the next king is secured. But the king has a certain affection towards June because he is the son he had with his first wife. So there is that June could turn to be a king mainly because the actual, well, not king, the emperor does have love towards June because he is the son he had with his first wife that he really loved. So there's that whole other plot as well. The story is really wholesome. It's comedy. It's obviously it has a fantasy element. It's such a great story. Please read the story. The comedy in this Danmei, it's so good. It's so funny. You're going to have such a great time reading the disabled tyrant's beloved pet fish. And that was the second Danmei I read in this year. Actually, I'm not going to even talk about months because Danmei is all I've been reading since June. And let's move on to the other series that I started reading. I already did a small video talking about this series, but I'm going to try and keep it short because of that. But the other series that I read after the Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish was actually one I had in my bookshelf. Finally, something that I already owned. And that was This Covalent Self-Saving System. Now, oh my I'm so happy. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say this, that to me, This Covalent Self-Saving System is such a great story. It has amazing characters, amazing plots. It's funny. It's just amazing. I'm a fan of This Covalent Self-Saving System. No one is ever going to change my mind on it, and it is now one of my favorite Danmeis that I've read. I know I've read other ones, but because this is a series I have completed, not yet really because I'm currently reading the 4th volume, but I can say with my entire heart that this is my favorite Danmei, and I'm so happy I finally decided to read it. But let's talk a little bit about This Covalent Self-Saving System. So this is the cover, the illustration that comes inside, and this one as well. So I did annotate this one, but let me read a little bit off the back. It says, half-demon Lupin, who rose from humble beginnings and tortured past to become unrivaled in strength and beauty, with his dominion over both the human and demon realms and his 100-strong harem, he is truly the most powerful protagonist in the trashy web novel series. Our main characters are Shendron and Lupin Ho. Shendron is this guy who was reading this web novel by the name of Out Immortal Demon Way. So Shendron is reading this novel, and he's spending so much time reading this novel that when the ending comes, and it's an ending he doesn't like, and I feel like everyone as a reader has felt that way, that you hate the ending so much you want to change it. Well, when Shendron reads this ending, he is so utterly mad and upset, and he's so mad that he dies, and then he is isekai'd into the web novel itself. And that's how Shandron turns into Shen Qinzhu, who is the villain, the scum villain of the web novel Proud Immortal Demon's Way. So now Shandron is now Shen Qinzhu, and he is the villain. And his mission throughout the story is to change the plot of the web novel, to try and change everything that happened in the web novel, including filling in the plot holes that the author left. And the plot sounds super simple, but it's actually very intriguing. It's very fun to see Shandron, now Shen Qinzhu, essentially fighting for his life and throwing tantrums throughout the story, because he knows how the story is going to end. He knows the ending of Shen Qinzhu's, the original ending, and that was to be murdered by Lu Binhe. And so he is trying to change everything from how Shen Qinzhu treated Lu Binhe, because in the original story, Shen Qinzhu was very mean, very horrible to little Lu Binhe, who was his student. And when Shandron is isekai into the story, Lu Binhe is still a child, and so he has time to go ahead and make the changes, make Lu Binhe not hate him. And throughout the story, that's exactly what Shen Qinzhu is going to be doing. And it's very fun to see him panic as to how everything is changing as he goes along to doing certain things, and how this story is now going in a different direction from what the author wrote. And one of my favorite things is the part where he starts filling in the plot holes, because he has this whole system in his head where the system is like giving him like not tips, but cause it's something like playing a video game where you get like tips on how to pass a level or something. I don't play a lot of video games, but it's something like that. And so he gets to complete the level of filling in the plot holes, and the way he's so happy to be filling all the plot holes, that when he was alive, when he was Shandron, he was so upset and mad that the story had so many plot holes that he even called this story like trashy web novel or something like that. And John as Shan Jinjin is so funny. Like he's so sarcastic, and like his inner thoughts are so funny. I like when he ends a sentence with "okay." For example, this one: "Who the fuck are you? What's with randomly throwing yourself around and calling for immortal Master Shen? I really don't know you, okay?" It's so funny. I have a tab full of just Shen Jinzhu's thoughts, because his inner thoughts are so funny. Let me see if I can find. Oh yeah, so this is what I meant when about the system, like protagonist satisfaction points plus 50. The first and second volume for me, there were 4 stars. The plot was good and I did enjoy it. Okay, and the third book, which is the last book and wraps the entire story really well, I gave it 5 stars because it is the last book and it was just amazing to read. I gave that one 5 stars. But as a whole, to rate the series completed, I would absolutely give this story 10 stars, 10,000 stars. I love this story. and it's my favorite Danmei. I'm never going to stop saying that, and I don't regret reading this. And yes, that's all the Danmei I've read so far this year. So I forgot to mention what I gave the Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pitfish. So the rating I gave this story as a whole, as just like that one volume, I give it 5 stars. I had such a good time. Again, I laughed aloud so much, and usually when a book makes me have a good time and just has me laughing so much, the book to me is always going to be a 5 stars. That's how easy I give books 5 stars. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys like this sort of video where I just sit down and talk a bit about the Danmei I've been reading and what I think about, and if you should read them, which yes, you should give Danmei a try. And yes, that would be all for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget that if you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And that would be all. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.